Just a first quick question. For people living in level 3 and 4, as of Friday, will international travel be illegal?
International travel won't be illegal because it would require the UK to do that. But travelling to the airport or to a port for that purpose would be against the regulations.
So even if people who live in Glasgow, can they go to Glasgow Airport to go on a non-essential international trip?
No, I don't believe they can. No.
Right. Okay, that's helpful. The second question then is about behaviour. Supervisor, keen to understand what the thinking is behind this. It's clear that the First Minister indicated yesterday that many people are not adhering to the ban on indoor visiting, and there is a line of thinking that a supervised, regulated, organised environment like pubs, cafes, restaurants is a safer place than the unregulated home. And I'm just wondering, since we've not managed to get the virus down to the levels that we wanted with the current restrictions, is there any added weight to that argument now? This is probably more of a question for Professor Leach.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's a good question, Mr. Rennie. I can tell you that no country in the world has chosen to keep its hospitality open when their prevalence rises. The WHO and pretty much every government in the world with cafes and restaurants, I mean, France with a cafe culture, a famous cafe culture, has shut its hospitality and gone further than many other countries in curfews. Italy, you can't leave your home in certain regions of Italy without written evidence of why you're leaving your home. So yes, I think people are still meeting in households. I think some of them are doing that safely, but the rule is not to do it. And it's very, very restrictive. But I can't think of a way of making that more regulated or more enforced that wouldn't take away huge civil liberties that none of us want to do. So in order to get the transmission down, we're therefore left with everywhere else people can meet. I don't think having the restaurants and cafes open means people won't meet in their houses, unfortunately. And I think our evidence now suggests that's the case, because level 3 has managed to get the numbers stable, but it hasn't in the main been quick enough to get the numbers down to stop the deaths.
So you don't support the argument that is effectively it's a pressure cooker and that people are desperate to have social engagement, they're desperate to meet others, and they'll find a way of doing that. So there's no weight to the argument that we should release that pressure cooker by, those who are trained and organised to supervise their environments, to control that release. I mean, if we've been able to do it on construction sites and manufacturing sites, is there not an argument to say that pubs and restaurants are capable of doing it as well?
It's compelling. Your argument is compelling, but construction and manufacturing are tiny numbers compared to 5 million people being released to go to hospitality. And that's kind of what we did. I came to this committee and said the reason we've kept cafes open is for social isolation. I mean, single parents, elderly people who use cafes basically as community centres to meet their pals. I want all of that. It's a hugely compelling argument that in that safe environment, older people, single parents, those who have no connection, no work, so they don't meet people during the day, but it hasn't worked quick enough, which is why very, very reluctantly this weekend, our advice was to go to level 4 in some areas, because we know that the 23rd of March worked. It worked in the sense that the prevalence fell. Now, there are harms from that. Of course there are harms, and we've touched on some of them around the economy and the business and the social isolation and the loneliness. And I'm not dismissing them or not immune to them. But the reality is we have too many infections, and we have to get them down.
Okay, my final set of questions are for the Minister. So 2 examples of businesses that are not receiving support when in principle they should. So there's businesses that are required to close, like nightclubs. They're not receiving the business closure support grant, and I'm just wondering why that is. And the second example is businesses that are restricted by or restricted in their activities by the new arrangements, and they're not getting access to the hardship fund, like holiday accommodation, B&Bs, etc. Why is the grant system not comprehensive enough to cover the areas that in principle should be getting support?
Well, it is comprehensive and it is wide-ranging, but of course there will always be in any system anomalies that develop. You're, Mr. Rennie, a constituency MSP as I am. You will know from your mailbag that will occur. And as constituency MSPs, I'm sure you and I will take those issues up, both at local level with local authorities that are distributing money and at national level with Kate Forbes and with Fiona Hislop. And the system does change and does develop. The announcements that the First Minister made will come into yesterday about level 4 areas will come into effect as quickly as possible, and that will widen the net. I suspect you have too. I have 2 or 3 individuals who I believe should have had support and have not had support in my constituency. And it will require continued persistence and work to try and develop and change the system to make that happen. And that's one of the reasons we're there and trying to do it. And I think all of us as MSPs should be making representations, both on the individual and the generic, where we see things aren't working and trying to get the system changed. I want to pay tribute to the local authorities who've done a remarkable job. I mean, I'm not well known as a close friend of a local authority in my area. I have been unstinting in my praise for them and the work that they have done and continue to be so. But it is incredibly difficult, and we must keep trying to work to make sure as many people as possible are covered.
I have heard from Aileen Morton that you have been full of praise for the council, so I'm sure they appreciate that, and perhaps you and I can join forces to persuade Kate Forbes to change the grant scheme. But that's me finished, convener.
Well, Mr. Rennie, nothing is impossible.
Thank you. Thank you for that.